Welcome to Opinion Nation, the King Daddy Show. I am King Daddy, your host. I would just like to first start off by saying that my condolences go out to the George Floyd family in Minnesota. I saw the video from both angles, and that was absolutely one of the most horrifying things that I have ever seen perpetrated on a human being in my life. Not a black human being, just a human being. Any police officer who would go so far outside of the spectrum of his duties and cause someone who is laying on the ground handcuffed, honestly, is just a piece of shit. So having said that, I want to talk about the protesters. I absolutely stand behind the protesters 110%. I think that they have the right to protest, and if you're going to protest anything, they have the right to protest over this. I don't believe that the protesting should be because it was a white cop who killed a black man, but it was just a police officer, period, like I said earlier, who would do that to another human being. That is absolutely something that you just do not do. The protesters, based on the First Amendment, have every right in the world to march in the streets, hold up their signs, chant what they're going to say, and get their point across so that people will listen, because that is definitely a protestable against the detestable. And I believe in it 110%. What I do not believe in is the aftermath of the general protest that have turned violent and ugly. Nobody has the right to go in and destroy, loot, and burn down someone else's business just because they're either one, angry, or two, brought here by a group like Antifa to start a bunch of shit and then get everybody riled up. I'm not 100% sure exactly which happened here. It does look a bit organized for my taste, so I'm thinking that these are professional protesters, and I will leave it at that because that is my view, but I have no proof of that. I'm sure that those who are in a higher level of authority than myself have more proof as to what's going on than I do, but they will know. But here's one of the things that I have a problem with, though, is you have these people who are breaking in these businesses, looting, burning, destroying, and everything that they're doing, and the police and the government in the towns seem to be helpless. You know, what does it take to stop a bunch of protesters when you have the military, the police, the state police, the National Guard, pretty much at your disposal to help eliminate this, and still they continue to get away with it? Washington, D.C. last night was just an absolute nightmare as to what they were allowing people to get away with. And they had everything, including the Secret Service, at their disposal. New York City, nightmare. And the NYPD supposedly is one of the greatest, strongest police forces in the country, along with the LAPD, who's the same way. And you, who are armed to the teeth with tactical gear, cannot go in there and stop these protesters. There's something wrong with that. I've heard so many stories about local governors and mayors wanting to take a light approach. How light of an approach do you need to take before your city is in ruins because you have allowed these people to come in and tear up all this stuff? It's just wrong. You know, I've heard people tell me, you know, since Donald Trump pitched such a fit over the protesting by kneeling at the football games, that he's taken away these people's voice and that they have no other outlet except this. Nobody has said that these protesters can't go out into the streets and get their message across. Nobody's told them they couldn't do that. He made a comment about the football players not kneeling during the national anthem, and it absolutely has nothing to do with the protest that's going on now. And it damn sure has nothing to do with the riot and the looters that are taking place now. But yet they're being allowed to riot and loot. I know that the president made a tweet about if you loot, we shoot. What's wrong with that? If you're destroying private property that does not belong to you, and you won't listen to authority, you won't leave when they show up to disperse you, what other method are they going to use? Rubber bullets and tear gas obviously have not worked worth a damn. Now, I'm not saying that you should just generally just start shooting, because there are some innocent people out there who, well, there's two types of innocents out there. There's general protesters who have been caught up in the midst of this chaos. And then you have the people who are out there just observing and taking pictures and trying to get them some likes on social media with some of their videos. You know, you got to be real careful about just shooting into a crowd. But if you see people who are legitimately inside of a store stealing and throwing gas bombs into police cars, put a bullet in them. There's no reason why you shouldn't. I'm not saying that the police need to stand on the sidewalk or get snipers on the roof and just start shooting people out in the crowd, because you're going to kill innocent people. But there's got to be a way to handle this in a controlled yet forceful manner that they will understand and disperse this horrible, horrible crowd of people doing this. Nobody wants to have their shit torn up. Nobody wants to have their livelihoods burned down. I mean, think about this. Some of these businesses have literally been closed for 3 months during the coronavirus campaign. They've not been able to make any money. The only recourse that they have is for the country to be open back up and for them to be able to open their business and get back to work. And you want to go in your own neighborhood supposedly and burn this shit down? How are these people supposed to make a living? The coronavirus has already gotten them down to practically zero. And then you want to go in there and burn what they have left, what little they have left, and take them to a whole new level of poverty and not knowing what to do because they no longer have a place to work. And that does not just include the business owners. That includes the people who work for these owners, who rely on this paycheck. Now, you know, they've given these stimulus packages to the small businesses, the PPP, I think is what they call it, so that they can bring their employees back to work. If they give what, I think 25% of the money used has to be used for their employers or employees. But now everything that they have, especially if their insurance don't pay, is going to have to pay to resolve a burned down building or a looted building. So you've had something, 3 months ago that has taken them out of their control. And now you've given them another thing that has taken them out of control. How much more can these people take? Why would you go in and do this to the innocent people? You're not angry at Billy Bob business owner. You're angry at the police. You're angry at the government. These generalized people that you're hurting and beating up and burning down their businesses and destroying and looting their property have not done anything to you. All they want to do is go back to work. They've not done a thing to anyone. I mean, it is very simple that what you're doing is absolutely wrong because of who you're doing it to. You're not hurting the government. You're not sending a message to the police. You're sending a message to Billy Bob business owner that you just absolutely don't give a shit about anything, including them. When you're looting grocery stores and looting Targets and burning down Wendy's and burning down banks that everyday people do business in on a regular basis, and you're taking that away from someone who has done absolutely nothing to you. And I don't understand it. Now, I've watched a lot of news coverage on this. As a matter of fact, it's kept me from sleeping because I've been watching it even at night so I can keep up with what's going on. Even here in the area in which I live, in Charlotte, North Carolina, they're busting out windows and destroying downtown Charlotte, and nobody that has anything to do with anything are having their businesses destroyed 1,000 or so miles away from where this even happened in Minneapolis. You know, my thoughts of Minneapolis, when I think about it, is the old Mary Tyler Moore show. You know, Mary Tyler Moore was based out of Minneapolis. It was about a young lady who had broken up with her boyfriend and moved to Minneapolis and took a new job at the TV station. And obviously, as a single woman, she went to Minneapolis because she felt safe. Now, granted, this was the 70s. Things were different. But she went to Minneapolis because she felt safe there. Do you think a Mary Tyler Moore prototype would go to Minneapolis now? You're absolutely making a disgrace of this city. And your disgrace that you're making of this city is transferring countrywide, and you're making a disgrace of almost every large city in America. What is it? 30-something cities are being looted and burned. For what reason? A police officer killed a man. They had no business killing him. The police officer has been arrested. I know you don't like the Murder 3, but give them a chance to possibly change it to something. They can't do Murder 1 because they can't prove that there was a plan in place to kill him in advance. So the worst they could do is Murder 2. But, you know, let the Attorney General do their job. And if you don't like the job that he did, then you protest that. But you don't burn down the businesses of innocent American business owners who have absolutely done nothing to you. It's wrong. And if there's anybody who listens to my show who is involving themselves whatsoever any of this, please stop. This is not the America that we want to live in. We are not in the Middle East where blowing up and burning things is a way of life. This is the United States of America. We used to be at one time the land of the free and the home of the brave, and now all we are is the land of riot. That's what we're known for now, the land of riot. So all these people are losing everything they have right off the back of a pandemic that has killed 100,000 plus people. There's no time for healing. It's like we went straight from getting everything under control from the COVID-19 to riots in every large city in America. I don't get it. I will never understand it. You can justify your actions to me, or those of you who aren't even involved can justify their actions to me, and I will never understand the reasoning behind it because there is none. I want you to protest. I want you to exercise your First Amendment rights and open your mouth and hold up your signs and make positive change without the violence. You do not need the violence. You know, it's pretty scary when you can't even go out to dinner in Charlotte, 1,000 miles away, because you're afraid that somebody's going to bust the windows out of your car and drag you out for something that you have nothing to do with. You know, they're dragging people out of their car and beating them primarily because they're white. You know, this is not a black and white thing. It's a bad, horrible cop who hurt an innocent human being. I mean, if he forged or did whatever they said he did, fine, take him to jail. But did you have to kill him on the sidewalk? No. And the same answer is, do you have to burn down the city? No. There's a way around this. There's a way to handle this. There's a way to make this better without making it worse. Stop it now. This is King Daddy for the Opinionation Podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, you can reach us on our Twitter platform at Opinionation84, or you can email us at opinionation84@gmail.com. Thank you.